You grew up in this jujitsu family, but you were always, at least from most people's interpretation, you were always the best guy out of the family. How did that happen? How did you rise above all the rest? I mean, you grew up with a bunch of killers.
Yes, everybody training hard. Everybody was pushing to the maximum. And for one point, I feel like I was dedicated, I'm perfectionist, I'm competitive in my heart. But some elements I get was more like a God gift. It's not exactly something I choose. So we training all the same. Why my brother, I can play with my brothers and they cannot have a chance with me. So that's kind of hard to explain. It's not me trying to do this. This just happened. It's myself trying to be my best, plus the emotional control, the peace of mind. It is all, for example, my beloved brother Hoyler, he's a great fighter, but sometimes he gets too emotional, and that sometimes makes him choose the wrong path. So Royce, he's a great fighter, but sometimes he get a little confused. He's not having the sharp offensive attitude, so sometimes something slip, and so on. So I not exactly know why I'm the one. I just have to represent and be, happy to be the one. And I tell you, man, all the opportunities I have to represent, I did already. So I feel like completely comfortable in myself, saying, okay, I have nothing to prove to myself. I did all. And, I'm very happy with the results. So, jiu-jitsu for life.
Jiu-jitsu for life, indeed.
Your brother.
That's not on.
This on?
Jamie, that's not on.
Check.
Oh, sorry.
Check. There we go.
You had a cousin, Holes Gracie,
Yes.
the legendary Holes Gracie,
Yes.
who's
Actually, Holes is in the DNA. He's my cousin, but he was living in my house since I born, because my uncle, as he divorced from his wife, Hall's mother, my father was just get married, so he give Hollis to be care to my father and mother.
so he was like your brother.
So he's my older brother, because Horion coming just after, and then Helson, and then when I born, like 9 years later, I was the little one living with Halls, Horion, and Helson for so he's my brother. There's no way to see him differently.
He was known as a guy who went all over the world, studied Sambo,
Yes.
studied some catch wrestling and
Yes,
with
yes.
wrestlers, and he would bring that back, right?
Yes.
What would you credit Holes in bringing leg locks into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Is he the one?
Yes, I mean, the leg locks specifically was not something I kind of get the major information from Halls. Was funny, one day Eric Paulson was a good student and a very good friend. He brought a tape for me from Japan with Shoto, Shoto wrestling, and I saw the knee locks in the Shoto wrestling, some guys fighting, and I saw it, and I kind of interesting. And then next day I start to apply it. And then it was funny because he commented to me afterwards, said, Rickson, I give you the tape one day, next day we were submitting everybody on the knee locks. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it was
So
fun.
you would say you learned more leg locks from Eric Paulson's tape than Holes?
Yeah, I mean, Halls was not specifically a lead lock guy,
There's a picture of him with a Sambo shirt on.
Yeah.
People go, look, he was a master of Sambo.
No. We go in Sambo as we go in any other. We go in representing Jiu-Jitsu against Sambo, And in the Pan American Games we went in San Diego, was like a very interesting, because the fighters, they don't expect so much submissions. And we start immediately, because tough wrestlers, tough judo players. So we start immediately bringing the fight to the ground and go for foot locks and knee locks. And immediately, in the first qualification phase, they start to tapping a lot. And then the referees start to become kind of little skeptical about that. They start to become more. So once Halls grabbed them in the footlock, especially in the final match in his weight division, he get the guy in the footlock. The referee stopped the fight and said, "No, you cannot get the footlock on the joint. You have to get on the shin." And then it's kind of confusing, and cutting that's why Halls lost the finals in this event. And
This was what, in the 70s?
was I think 80s, 81 or 80.
So they were trying to cut him out by.
Yeah, the referees started getting upset because was funny. We supposed to come in with a team from Brazil of 12 guys, and we expecting a support from the government, and then the government at the very last moment didn't give to us. So my father paid to us to come. So just me, Carlos Gracie Jr. and Halls. So we coming to compete in this event. And
How old were you at this time? You must have been like 18 or something.
yes, 19,
Okay.
something like that. And then we coming, and I was in the my weight division, which is one above Halls, and Halls was below me, and Carlos was on top of me. So we kind of having one in each division. And as the competition progressed, the referees start to see those three guys from Brazil just submitting everybody, because in Sambo, chokes are not allowed. No headlocks, no collar chokes. It's only knee locks, foot locks, or straight arm bars. You cannot even do the Americanas because it goes in the... So we just go and trying to do foot locks because those are the easiest way. So we start to finish the guys, and they start to say, "Oh, this guy's coming and do foot," and everybody may complain. I don't know if.
But it's Sambo though, isn't
Sambo.
that what they? Yeah, that's what
Now.
they do is footlocks.
It's now.
Yeah.
Back then there wasn't footlocks.
Yeah, it's so interesting how
wait a minute.
that's changed.
No, it was legal,
Okay.
but was not used, especially in the Sambo and American concepts. Russia, maybe.
Yeah.
But
But American Sambo focused on what mostly?
They are more into control. The rules are if you pin the guy for 30 seconds, it was like wrestling, not as longer, but you still win like judo.
Oh.
And if attempt the pin every time the guy passes the back on the ground, you're still making points. So in my final match, I guess a guy from the Air Force, very strong guy with maybe wrestling and judo background, and he was whipping my ass, man. He's just in the first, it's 3 rounds, 3 minutes. In the first round, he stay on top all the time. And because being in the guard, you're losing points, the score is about 12 or 14 points in the first round. In the second round is about 18 or 20. I tell you, in the very final round, I was about 26 or something points against 0. And I was just trying to do my thing. And then maybe a minute before the very final round, I swept him and mounted. And he, in the same time I mounted, he's trying to push me away. And I get a moving arm lock. And he not even tap. He just yell, "Ah!" So, and then I win the fight in a very final seconds.
And you were down 20-something.
Yes,
Wow.
I was points are not even chance. I'm not there to win by points. I was there just to see if I can submit.
It's fascinating.
And then the guy tapped 15 seconds before the fight is end, and then the whole crowd was and then everything kind of and then just few guys.
now,
It was pretty fun.
So when Eric Paulson showed you these tapes of Shudo in the 90s, probably you were already doing leg locks a little bit, right?
Not really. I very like foot locks. I always
Okay.
love
the straight foot lock.
Yes, straight.
And
foot
then
lock.
what Eric Paulson showed you was fancy knee bars and stuff.
Yes,
different
because
stuff.
from the guard you just spin around and go with the straight knee lock.
Yes.
Things. So I get amazed by this kind, and I start to develop. Very quickly. It was just adapt to my game and was an addition to the arsenal. It was great.
It's funny when you look back at old Eric Paulson fights from Japan, you look at the stuff he was doing, and people today still aren't even doing that.
Mm-hmm.
He's way ahead of the game, too. Eric Paulson was an encyclopedia of submissions. Him and
Knows
Matt
a lot.
Hume.
Yep. Yep.
Those guys, back then, it looked like advanced jiu-jitsu. And, of course, anytime you got the mount, there was always an arm bar.
Yeah, but that time Eric was being training very consistently with us. He's a good brother and a training partner. He's always been a great warrior, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Great guy. Very, very knowledgeable
Yeah.
guy. Isn't it fascinating that we've seen, just in the time that I started training from 96 on, this adoption of leg locks in jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
In the 90s, it used to be that leg locks were frowned upon. When someone went for leg locks, people get really upset.
Rickson, were you at the first Pan American Games in 1996 or 1997 here in El Segundo in LA? You must have been there, right? Do you remember
Probably,
that?
yes.
There was the first Pan Americans. There was like 500 Brazilians. They shipped them all. It was
an invasion.
It was an invasion of Brazilians. And there was the crazy thing is, I was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and I saw a Ken Shamrock tape of a toe hold. So I was a blue belt doing toe holds at Jean-Jacques Machado's academy, and I competed in the tournament, and so did Eric Paulson. And when I went for a toe hold in this tournament, all the Brazilians started throwing. There was almost a riot. They called the cops. They were throwing shoes at me. And Johnny Machado, I'll never forget him running in slow motion, sliding. And I had the toe hold, and Johnny goes, "You gotta let it go. You gotta let." So I had the toe hold, and I'm looking around, so I let it go. People are throwing shoes at me and water bottles and stuff. And it was like a big deal. And I ended up losing. I let it go. And afterwards, Eric Paulson's in the parking lot. It was just me and him. He was a blue belt as well. And he was like, he was a kid. We were like the same age, but he was like, I was like a little kid. And he's like, "Hey, let me talk to you, kid." And he goes, "Let me show you a couple leg locks." So he showed me a couple things, like this weirdest leg lock that doesn't work. And he admits it now that it was garbage. But he showed me this leg lock. He showed me this leg lock where you go like this weird thing in the parking lot. And I'll never forget that. I was like, man, this guy's the only guy who understands that I like toe holds. And he was on my podcast not too long ago, and he said, and I asked him about that movie. I go, "Do you remember that movie?" He goes, "Oh yeah, it's garbage, it's trash, it doesn't work."
Forget it. Erase that one.
Yeah, he goes, "Forget about that."
Isn't it fascinating though how these ideas, they get innovated, and within our lifetime they start to get implemented, and they get weeded out. The ones that work wind up staying. The ones that don't work fall by the wayside.